What's up, my know-it-alls? Well, it's that day again, and that is time for us to review the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 3, The Streets of Mos Espa. It's rough out there in those streets, so we're going to get right to it. All right, well, the episode is amazing this week. I'm sitting here going, really, guys? You waited till episode 3? But I definitely feel like we are at the turn in terms of the act change and structure of the storytelling. I'm excited, man. Oh, my goodness. So let's get into it. So the episode opens up with a really cool shot of the former Jabba's palace, now Boba's palace. And that little classic creature thing, it's sort of a droid thing with like a little looks almost like one of the spider guys from The Matrix. And so as we go in, you find out, you see that Boba and Fennec are receiving an update basically on the Daimyo's territory. And so the droid, I don't know if he's a protocol droid or not, he's in the background in Return of the Jedi, in the droid scene in Jabba's palace. He's actually there, this guy. And so he's got a hologram out there and he's showing them all about what's going on. And he basically says, hey, this is ultimately how Bib Fortuna survived. He split up the town between several families. That's around the time that a water merchant, I guess, this water merchant comes in and he wants to have a conversation. He's one of Boba's vassals. Anyway, so he comes in, played by a really cool character actor we've seen a million times over and a million things over. Anyways, and this guy's like, I'm being robbed of these people, these young people who use droid parts. We're talking about cyborgs. We're getting cyborgs. I was not a huge Star Wars Legends reader and participator, so I don't necessarily know. I'm sure they probably covered droids, and I mean, not droids, but cyborgs. And obviously we've got Vader and some others. So we do know those exist. Anyway, so these kids, so what does he do? Boba goes down, Boba Fennec and the pigs. They go down, literally the pigs. I'm clever. Anyway, and so they go down and you see these kids just hanging out outside and and literally they're kids. They got these cool looking, I don't know, space Vespas. I guess that's the word.
You can't just add a sci-fi word to a car word and hope it means something.
And the kids are kind of like, hey man, I'm not impressed. Okay, we know who you are. And so they give him some song and dance about the price of water and everything else. And so he's like, well, you want a job? And so he basically hires them. The water guy's ticked off. He says they owe like 1,300 credits. And he's like, Boba gives him 500 and says, be happy. That's it. Dude's not happy. So eventually we get our very first, and I don't know, maybe, I don't think it's final. And I'm going to go back to this at the end of this. I'm going to circle back. So Boba heads into town and we see a scene very reminiscent of one that we saw in The Mandalorian, which is Boba walking by these stormtrooper helmets that are all erected on spears. Clearly the Empire's been kicked off the planet. And in a blink and you'll miss it moment, as Boba's walking by, you see a mechanic, a very friendly lady we recognize from The Mandalorian, and her followed by her little droid guys. Anyway, they're the ones who fix the Mandalorian's Din Djarin, his ship and whatnot in back in Mandalorian season 1, and then you revisit them again in season 2. But yeah, so Boba gets to the Pikes and he basically finds out that he's going to collect the money, obviously, that he needs for he is owed. And so they're like, hey, we're only gonna pay protection to one person at a time. We already got this other people who are claim to your land, to the land that you said. And so he shows up and is like, he says, well, don't worry about them. I'm gonna take care of it. Okay, big bad man. On his way back to his village, the village of the Sand People, he sees smoke on the horizon. It's not good. It's not good. Tatooine is not friendly or nice when it comes to that kind of thing. Anyway, so it's smoking wreckage, and I feel for him because I mean he sees the chief there's dead, but then he comes across a burned out tent, and there's the symbol again, the same symbol that he saw when the child Tusken had him and the Rodian, and they saw the people being attacked way back in episode 1. And there was a symbol that was being painted on the building, like graffitied. And I feel like that symbol's going to come back into play. So then, at the end of this vision, he wakes up and he's being yanked out of his bacta tank by none other than Black Krrsantan. Black Krrsantan is that, not Chewbacca, I don't want to say discount Chewbacca, because frankly, this guy's a bad man all on his own. And so he rips him out and he's like, ah! And I'm just like, oh my God, this guy's dope. And he proceeds to whoop in spectacular fashion Boba's butt. All of a sudden, and again, I'm sitting here going, does nobody hang out near the man's room? So his teenagers come flying out, and one of them's got a vibro blade, and she's stabbing him, and the other kids come out, and they all got weapons, and they circle around him, and he's just like, oh, and then the pig guys show up, and so you got the pig guys, you got Boba, you got the kids, and they're just all just kind of fighting, and so finally they go down the stairs, they go into the main area, and Fennec runs in and she hits a button and poof, he falls. So he's in the dungeon. I think it's actually it might be the Rancor pit, but obviously there's no Rancor, but there's no way out either. So he's essentially captured. And he's so mad. He's like, oh, it's great. It's wonderful. Other than episode 3, The Revenge of the Sith, it's good to see another Wookiee who's just awesome. Anyway, so the next day, they're sitting around, Fennec and Boba are sitting around having eating food and whatnot, and he's really ticked off. He's like, we gotta do something about this. And so before they can kind of finish up and wrap it up, the twins come back. That's right, Jabba's cousins show up. And so they have a gift, apparently. That gift is none other than Danny Trejo bringing in a Rancor. It's a young, calf Rancor, and it's all blinders and whatnot. I still think it's cool as could be to see Danny Trejo as a Rancor trainer. It's dope. And so at this whole scenario, the Hutts are like, hey, we've been lied to, both of us. The mayor is working with somebody else. This area has been promised to another syndicate. And so so he's like, we're going to give you this gift. We're heading out. We recommend you head out. And Boba's trying to give him back Krrsantan, and they're like, no, we're good. You can sell him back to the gladiators, whatever. And so Boba releases him and whatnot. Then we get this really cool scene in the Rancor pit. And you find out from Danny Trejo that the Rancors there's more to them also. More to the Sand People, more to the Rancors. It's not just the two-dimensional things that we ultimately have been fed all these years. Great. I'm excited. I'm here for it. He proceeds to say that when you take the blindfold off, they imprint on the first human being they see, a humanoid. And so, and he also tells a story about Danny Trejo name drops the witches of Dathomir. Witches of Dathomir are important. That's kind of an Easter egg because those are the people who essentially helped rescue Darth Maul. Rescue in that he was kind of wayward without them. Eventually they found him, helped him up. Anyway. But yeah, so they're Dark Force users. They're awesome. I used to love to role play with them when I was doing the Star Wars role playing game years ago. So he talks about the fact. Danny Trejo talks about the fact that the witches of Dathomir used to ride them, and that immediately catches Boba's attention, and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna show me how to ride these things," and all I see and all I want now is Boba Fett. Full gear, mounted on top of a Rancor, just like, I am the Daimyo of Mos Espa. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like a bantha. No, I'm kidding.
Like a bantha.
All right. So so that's when Protocol Droid Bot puts his head out and he's like, hey, the mayor's office said he's busy for the next 20 days. So he's like, Oh, I'm not waiting for an appointment. So him and I call them now the Power Rangers because they all have these colored space Vespas, hover Vespas, whatever. And there's like a green one, a red one, a blue one, a yellow one, whatever. They literally look like the Power Rangers. So they show up, and the majordomo is there and he's like, "Oh, well, sorry, yeah, we're busy, this and that." And Fennec's like, "You can choose your next words very carefully because it's gonna go bad." So dude's like, "Well, let me rearrange the schedule and find out." He goes into the office of the mayor and locks the door. And Boba's like, "Brother, he just locked the door on us?" And so they're after him, and so he rushes out and he goes up the side or whatever. And then it's a street chase between Boba's Power Ranger guards and dude. And dude's like, he's like in a hover version of like a Cadillac. The thing's about as wide as the street, and they're chasing around and everything else. Anyway, so then of course the dude crashes. They skid up, and those cyborg kids, they're amazing. Especially the chick, I can't remember her name, but she's amazing. Like she's so cool. I just love everything about what they're doing. Then we cut to the spaceport. It's very important because the spaceport, you see a Starliner, which is basically a regular, like an airline, like a regular space travel vehicle that you can buy passage on. And out walks like this about a dozen or more Pikes. So we're definitely getting set up, and Fennec ends the whole thing, and she's like, we're going to war, man. This episode, bro. This episode. I'm trying my best not to be one of those guys who reviews stuff and is like, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, it's amazing, it's amazing. I read a guy who reviewed last week's episode and was like, it's 10 out of 10. And I'm like, really, dude? You have no, I don't know, discretion, discernment, anything? Anyway, I like this episode. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It had everything I wanted and more. I thought it was very interesting that when you get to the Sand People, yes, I God bless you, Favreau and Filoni. I literally just want to be like, you. So they give us such great heartfelt stuff when it comes to the Tusken Raiders, only to have something so senseless as the way the whole village is just wrecked. But it's on point. That's what happens in Tatooine. That's what happened. I mean, that's what happened to Luke's family. That's what's happened to numerous people in groups and whatnot. Is one minute you're here, the next minute you're not, and it's over something stupid as like territory or water or whatever. And it's, I was very pleased that even though we've gotten this warm and fuzzy, we're going to show you this background of these people, and we're going to make you care about them more. Now you see the same kind of senseless violence we've seen from the streets of Tatooine. And now it matters, because now you're like, these people were like, they had a culture and a society. Anyway, great work. These guys are doing it's multi-layered. I'm excited, man. I want to see who starts kicking butt next. I really do. So let's go through some theory craft here. At the very, very beginning, at the outset of this, I said that, I had a thought, and I do. We have yet to see this big family move that we saw in the trailers. And by that, I'm talking about the scene from the trailers where Boba Fett's sitting at the head of a table or standing there, and he's talking to the other heads of the families. So this thing is very much becoming it's a gang war, so to speak, territory war. And I feel like what's going to end up happening is Boba's going to approach the houses and the families, and he's essentially going to say, follow me. We have to band together, because the Pikes aren't just here to take over like one part. The Pikes want to take it back to how Jabba had it, which is one guy, one power, everything. The families that Bib Fortuna set up are probably super happy having control of their own little mini fiefdoms, their little territories. And so I imagine they're going to want to sit here and defend that. Now, obviously, there may be some who are going to jump ship or whatever else and be like, well, screw it, we'll go with the Pikes and help them and this and that. And I'm thinking they're not going to be long left for this life. I'm pretty sure that Boba's going to put a stop to that. And what you're going to end up with is Boba Fett is going to set up a real and true like Godfather style family situation. Something that's not just in word only in name, but like genuinely, these are the rules, this is how it works. You guys are going to follow my lead. Anyway, so yeah, man, 9 out of 10 for this episode of the Book of Boba Fett. I'm a fan, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's a good show. So there you go. Now you know. And if knowing's half the battle, then you're halfway to being a know-it-all yourself. All right, guys. Join me next week. I can't wait to keep jumping into this. My voice is getting back to normal, so I'm going to be able to start doing more and more stuff again. I still have those more of the 30th anniversary of Image Comics videos coming out, sort of telling some of the stories that I grew up reading. I don't know how much attention those are going to get, and I'm probably more doing them just for my own pride and desire to do something, put some content out there, whatever. So we're also looking for more stuff to review and whatnot. Leave a comment, man. Tell me what you thought of the episode. Don't forget to like. Please, it helps me with the YouTube algorithms. Subscribe if you're so inclined. I'd love to click the little bell icon so you can find out more about what we're doing and when new content drops. Otherwise, yeah, man, I'm loving this thing. So, all right, guys, I'll talk to you later. Never forget, everyone loves a know-it-all.